Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is my team builder for Week 8 of the UBL. It's hard to believe that the UBL is almost over. We have just 10 weeks of regular season for UBL, so that means that there are 3 weeks remaining, including this one. And yeah, it's really flown by. It's been a lot of fun. Met a lot of cool people. It's been a really great season overall. And hopefully our season does not end at the end of the 10 weeks. Hopefully we do make ourselves a playoff competitor this season. And there's a non-zero chance that ends up happening if we catch the dub this week. So the way that the division breaks down right now, the teams that have at least 5 losses are the Crystal Palosands, the Chicago Shaman Sky, and the NJ Brobats. And so if we win this week, that means that would improve us to a 6-2 record. There are only we could only possibly finish with 4 losses. So that means that we would be guaranteed to finish ahead of all of them. And then besides that, there are 2 teams that have 4 losses. There might even be 3 teams, I think. I think the 3 teams are the Los Angeles Clefable, coached by Greg, the Wexford Wailords, coached by Irish Emerald, who actually is our opponent this week. And then I think also Joe seems to have a 3-4 record coming into this week. So basically, so if we win, we're guaranteed to finish ahead of the 3 coaches I mentioned to start. And then, so depending upon how it shakes out between Joe, Greg, basically, so if we beat Irish Emerald, he'll drop to 5 losses. And then depending upon what happens with Joe and with Greg, if one of the 2 of them loses this week, then we are guaranteed to have a playoff spot. So that's pretty wild. I'd be pretty happy if that happened. I have a couple of tough matchups in Week 9 and Week 10, so I would be very relieved if we didn't have to stress out about those matches at all. But it's not going to be a easy matchup this week because, as you can see, Iris has a pretty good roster headlined by Zeraora there. So let's just go through the list. Like I said, he does have that Zeraora. He also has Lycanroc Dusk, Salamence, Darmanitan, Rotom-Mow, Hoopa, Mega Scizor, Hitmontop, Sylveon, Araquanid, and Palossand. So he's got a couple of major threats. He's got like almost more wall breaking than like anybody in the league. You've got Hoopa and Darmanitan, which are both amazing wall breakers. You also have the possibility for like Banded Araquanid and things like that, which are very powerful. Salamence, I love wall breaking sets of Salamence that are mixed. He has brought like one sort of like wall breaking set, like a mixed soda set, which is like really scary and hard to deal with. Lycanroc has really good coverage and can potentially be annoying to teams. Sylveon with choice specs. Yeah, so you guys get the point. Like he has lots of wall breaking ability, and to me, like that's really scary when you combine it with like Mega Scizor and Zeraora. Because Zeraora has that blistering speed stat. I think it's like base 143, if I'm not mistaken. It's 143, which is really crazy. And then Scizor just has the ability to like set up on practically any Pokemon, get to +2, and start firing off powerful bullet punches. And in late game scenarios, that's probably enough to win, especially versus my team that doesn't really have great steel resists. So it's a very tricky matchup for sure. You add an extra wrinkle in there, being that he has a pretty good sticky web setter with Araquanid. Like, I don't really have great hazard removal options on my team. I've only brought hazard removal once this whole season, I think, and that was versus Styx. I brought Defog versus Styx, and I don't think I've ever brought it otherwise. And so Araquanid switches in very freely on a lot of my team. Because I'm not bringing Heliolisk and I'm not bringing Togekiss, and those are like my only 2 like special super effective stab moves that are going to do super amounts of damage to it. So yeah, long story short, Araquanid gets up free webs versus a lot of my team. So I have to build the team basically that can play as if webs are on the field. I have to be able to deal with the majority of his offensive threats, and then I also have to set myself up for a good late game win con. And so we've done the best that we can to match all of those things. I would say that like defensively we can deal with pretty much anything except for certain sets of Zeraora. Like we're gonna have to see. Like Zeraora has coverage for all of my best checks to it. Like Druddigon, for example, it gets Outrage. For Quagsire, it gets Grass Knot. For Heatran and for Heliolisk and for Diggersby, it gets Close Combat. Things like that. For Necrozma, it gets Knockoff. So like the right Zeraora set can just obliterate my whole team. It might not be able to beat all of my team all at the same time, but it's kind of like the problem that you faced with Mega Metagross back in the day. Like, it's true that Mega Metagross sort of has 4 move slot syndrome, but by the time you figure out, like, what Pokemon can beat it on your team, like, you've sacked off half of your team already. So, like, if I could go into Druddigon to try and deal with Zeraora, he could blow me back with Outrage. And then he can say, okay, cool, my Heatran can beat it, but I had to sack my Druddigon to find that out. But yeah, otherwise, I feel like I can deal with a lot of his team, especially given the fact that he's had some very strong tendencies throughout this season. Like, he really likes Spadef Araquanid, he likes Fizdef Sylveon, he's almost never brought any speed on Sylveon. The most he's ever brought is 12 EVs, and he's brought Modest Nature once. Otherwise, he's always some sort of defensive spread. He likes defensive Scizor, like Fizdef. He likes Choice Scarf Hoopa, although he's also brought some cool variants of Hoopa, like Sub Nasty Plot and things like that. So, like, there's some things that we can take into account in our team building that help combat the matchup. But why don't I stop rambling and actually talk about the team now that we're over 6 minutes into this video. So, first off, we have a Resto Chesto Druddigon. And the reason we have Resto Chesto is because I feel like Druddigon is extremely pressured this game by the likes of Zeraora, Rotom, Scizor, things like that, Araquanid as well. And so I want to be able to give this thing longevity, and it doesn't get any sort of recovery moves. And so Chesto Resto seems like the best way to give it longevity. And that also helps us deal with potential Will-O-Wisp on Rotom or Toxic on whatever else. So that's the thought process. Earthquake, Dragon Claw, Fire Punch allows us to hit the majority of his team. Earthquake is there specifically for Zeraora. Fire Punch is there specifically for Scizor. And then Dragon Claw hits everything else pretty much that's not named Sylveon. We've got mostly Spadef investment on this thing, but a good bit of his Spadef investment as well. The nice thing here with Druddigon, of course, is that it does have that rough skin ability. So if we want to come in on U-turns from Scizor, we can deal chip to it. If we want to come in on Plasma Fists from Zeraora, we can deal chip damage, and so on and so forth. So Druddigon, I think, is pretty reliable in this matchup. That's going to be able to take on a lot of hits from the majority of his team. Next, we do have a Rocky Helmet Quagsire. I think this is almost the exact same set from last week. Recover Toxic Earthquake Ice Punch. We're actually running a bit of speed on here. The reason that we have the speed is just so we can outspeed Araquanid, because it might be nice to get off a Last Ditch Toxic versus Araquanid, because it does deal with a lot of my team, honestly, so that's definitely scary. So yeah, being able to outspeed it and hit it with Toxic is very nice. But yeah, this is mainly here to like basically prevent Scizor from doing anything really crazy. It gets off chip versus Scizor as well. It's also a great Darmanitan stop, just like Druddigon is a great Darmanitan stop. In fact, this amount of defense investment is specifically so that way we live 2 Choice Scarf Flare Blitzes from Darmanitan. That into Earthquake plus Rough Skin damage and Flare Blitz recoil and everything will easily be able to kill. But yeah, like, this is also a really great Druddigon response. Not Druddigon, Darmanitan response. They both start with D and end with N. It's very hard to keep track. But yeah, even though this thing can't really offensively threaten Scizor, we can at least pivot into it, do annoying damage with Rocky Helmet, and prolong ourselves until we can get into our Heatran. So that's really the thought process there. But yeah, otherwise full Fizdef investment. It can deal relatively well with non-Grass Knot variants of Zeraora as well. Next, let's bring up Heatran. So we do have a Chople Berry Heatran, Stealth Rock, Lava Plume, Ancient Power, and Flash Cannon. We have enough special attack on this thing that we can 2-shot uninvested Zeraora, or not uninvested. I put enough so that when I did the calc, Zeraora was outspeeding a Jolly Lopunny. So assuming that it has that many EVs, it's like 60 EVs in HP or something like that, we should be able to 2-shot it with Lava Plume. This does, of course, OHKO most variants of Scizor. I think even like a Max Spadef careful variant of Scizor will get OHKO'd by Lava Plume. But again, I'm not expecting that so much. I'm expecting like a Fizdef variant. But yeah, this is just pretty reliable versus team. It makes me very, very safe versus Scizor. It makes me safe versus Sylveon. And then we have coverage on here. Like, Ancient Power is good for Araquanid and Salamence. Flash Cannon is there for Sylveon and other mons that don't that can switch on Lava Plume, but don't appreciate the Flash Cannon. Enough speed on here for a max speed Scizor. I don't think he'll bring max speed Scizor, but I like to have the speed anyway. We won't have the speed when Sticky Web goes up, so maybe it's a waste to invest in speed, but we've done it anyway. Next up, we do have a Colbur Berry Necrozma. So this is my main response for Hoopa, because with the Colbur Berry combined with our bulk and with Prism Armor, we should be able to take pretty much any dark type move. And then X Scissor does one-shot most variants of Hoopa unless it's Tanga Berry. And I'm not expecting his Hoopa to have very much investment in HP just because it needs to be able to outspeed Pokemon on my squad like Heatran and Diggersby. We have a little bit of special attack investment in here that's enough to OHKO like a Fizz-Def Scizor. I think it's just from straight 100%. I don't think I need Rocks damage or anything like that. But besides Scizor and Hoopa, he doesn't have Psychic Resists. He has Pokemon that can switch into Psychic-type moves relatively well, like Sylveon and Araquanid, but it is unresisted otherwise. The nice thing about Necrozma is that because of its typing and its tremendous bulk, and the typings that Irish Emerald has on his team, Necrozma is kind of hard for him to deal with. Like, he's not going to be able to break it very easily. So, like, if we get into a situation where the Hoopa's out and the Araquanid's out, assuming he doesn't have Toxic on anything else, Necrozma should literally 1v1 the whole team, which is really nice. So, having this thing physically defensive as well allows me to deal with Zeraora pretty well. Like, Zeraora can't hit me with Knockoff. Again, I do have Colbur Berry in case we need that. If I don't have the Colbur Berry, that means that my item's been knocked off, and Knockoff will be doing less damage to Necrozma. And Zeraora doesn't have, like, a blistering attack stat anyway. So, yeah, there's really not a variant of Zeraora that I think can beat my Necrozma. So that makes it really nice here, too. We have enough speed on this thing for a max speed Modest Sylveon, but again, I'm not expecting that. We're just taking our proper safety precautions. So this is my defensive backbone. I think I can use these Mons to at least delay until the end game, where one of my next two Mons can potentially win. And also, like, because these are all like defensively oriented Mons, they don't really need speed in order to function. So that sort of helps me in the event that he does get up Sticky Web, because like I said, I'm expecting that it's going to happen. He doesn't I have no good way to prevent it. So both of our offensive win cons as well can win under Sticky Web. And so first off, we do have a Spore Swords Dance Breloom. And I like this a lot because Breloom lures in the checks to Lopunny and vice versa. I mostly expect that Breloom's going to be the breaker and Lopunny's going to be the cleaner. It could go the other way, but the main checks that I'm worried about with Breloom are Intimidate Salamence and Fizz-Def Scizor, because both of those are pretty good at dealing with Lopunny, but they do coincidentally also deal with Breloom relatively well. So if I can Spore either of those two Mons upon switch into my Breloom, that's a huge advantage, because then neither of them can really do that well versus my Lopunny. But that said, like, after I Spore, I can set up an SD, and I can do tremendous damage to his team, or at least whittle it tremendously. Because at +2, besides Salamence and Scizor, he doesn't really have a way to survive +2 Mach Punch. So that's just how powerful Breloom is with Black Belt. And then we have enough speed investment on this thing to outspeed max speed Timid Sylveon. But the nice thing is that even under webs, like, I'm not expecting a max speed Timid Sylveon. I'm expecting like a no speed Sylveon. This speed investment does allow us to outspeed a 0 speed Sylveon after web. So we don't have to go for Mach Punch versus Sylveon. We can go for Bullet Seed, and that should one-shot a lot of variants of Sylveon. Same with Araquanid, same with Hitmontop. Like, Mach Punch isn't going to do as much damage to those Pokemon, but even after webs, I should be able to outspeed all of those. Yeah, Breloom either Mach Punches something and gets the kill, or it outspeeds and is able to click Bullet Seed and get the kill. The only Pokemon that it doesn't do like that versus are Scizor and Salamence. But I'll take the damage on Salamence and Scizor. I don't need to kill them. I just need the damage. Because basically I need to get Scizor, like, assuming I have a Brox, I need to get Scizor to like 55% HP, because then my Lopunny will be able to kill it with High Jump Kick. And then Salamence with Intimidate, assuming it's not Yachi Berry, just needs to get to like 80%, because then it takes 25% from rocks, puts it to 55%, and then -1 Ice Punch from Lopunny should kill Salamence at that range. So like I said, all I need is a little chip. Really doesn't matter. Like, Breloom doesn't need to win by itself. All it needs to do is clear the way for this Lopunny set here, and it is Agility Lopunny. And so without webs, we don't even need the Jolly Nature. We outspeed everything on the team not named Zeraora with an Adamant Nature. So Lycanroc, for example, we outspeed, which is really nice. Does he have something that's base 180, base 115 on his team? No, like this should actually, I think I put a little bit too much speed on here. Maybe I put enough speed for like a no, I put enough speed on here for Scarf Sylveon in case he decides that he wants to bring that, because that's this, yeah, so 123 times 1.5 is like 180 something. And so I think my Lopunny outspeeds that. I hit 184, so maybe it's a speed tie. I might have done this incorrectly if that's the case, but it's no big deal. We do outspeed everything else, like except for Zeraora, and then with an agility up, we obviously outspeed his entire team even after webs, so that's looking pretty spicy. Return High Jump Kick, Ice Punch is enough to deal with the entire team. And I just gave you guys the damage calcs that Lopunny needs in order to sweep, assuming that he's Fizz Def, Salamence, and Fizz Def Scizor. So yeah, I just need Breloom to clear a path for Lopunny. I gotta find an opportunity with Lopunny to set up an agility, and then it should be GG. So that's the thought process with the team. We need to use our defensive mons to whittle the team down, and kind of just prolong the game until we get to the late game. Use Breloom to wall break, and then use Lopunny to clean. And yeah, that's going to be our game plan, and hopefully we can pull it off. And if we do, like I said, there's a pretty reasonable shot that we'll make playoffs. So cross your fingers. Let's hope that that happens. Battle will be going up sometime in the early to mid-afternoon tomorrow. I've got to just fire up the editing on that, and hope you guys are looking forward to it. If you are, make sure you drop a like on the video and drop a subscription so you can stay up to date on all the latest UBL action and all of my latest and greatest gaming and Pokemon content. So thank you guys for watching. Until the next time, I'll see you guys later.